Okay, so this is the demonstration for coloring something with colored pencil in a one-point perspective space. As you guys can see, I've got my couch already here drawn in my pencil lines. And what I've done is I've made a cheat sheet for you all to determine what colors you should be using for your shading and everything when you're on here. Every color is going to have an undercolor. And the undercolor is not always related to the local color. Local color is what color you want the object to appear. So if you wanted to make a red sofa, that's the local color of red. But underneath, you're going to have orange. And the reason for this is so we don't see the white of the paper coming through. We'll see the color that's underneath. So what I'm going to be doing here is I'm going to be doing a green couch. So my undercolor is yellow. So I've gone ahead and filled this entire thing in with yellow. And you can also think of your undercolor as your fill color. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my middle tone, which is in this case a light green, and I'm going to go over all my pencil lines, because what we don't want to see is we don't really want to see any pencil lines showing through in our final drawing. Okay. So I'm just going to go over my pencil lines. This is also why you don't want to add any shading to it before you add the colored pencil, because graphite can really mess up colored pencil if you let it. Okay, so now that I've gone over all my pencil lines in my middle value, or my mid-tone, what I'm going to do now is figure out where my light is going to fall. So here's my window, which is my light source. So I mean light is going to be hitting here, which means on these cushions of the couch, there's going to be a little bit of shadow on the back. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this color over the surface and kind of make my lines or my shading marks in the direction that the cushion kind of goes. So if it's curved, you make the lines curved. If it's not, make the lines more straight. So we've got some darkness along the back end of the couch because it's away from the light source. Light is striking here, which means there's going to be a little bit of darkness underneath here. I'm going to bring it a little bit into this yellow here because I do want the couch to appear green when I'm done. But I'm going to let a little bit of the yellow show through for the highlight, which is the brightest part of the object. Right? So, once again, light is hitting here on the back end, so it's going to be dark along the side of the cushion and gradually get lighter as we go towards the light source. And then it's going to be really bright right here, but I'm going to get a little bit of green in there. And on this side, if you guys notice, I'm shading each part of the couch separately. And you want to do that. Like, don't shade the whole thing. If you've got separate parts of the couch, make sure, or separate parts of whatever it is you're coloring, and make sure to shade each part separately. Now, this part here is completely away from the light source, so I'm going to go ahead and shade that in really, really dark with my middle value of green. And this side here, too, is completely away from the light source, so I'm just going to pick a direction. I happen to like diagonal. I'm going to go ahead and fill that all in with this middle tone green. And the reason I call it a middle tone is because we are going to let some of this middle tone show through when we put in the dark. Light's hitting here. So I'm just shading it very, very lightly. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come and find my shadow color. So once again, looking at the green, following across is dark green. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go over my lines again in my shadow color. Just really getting rid of all that pencil. See, that outlines it rather nicely. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in and put some really dark values in here. Now I'm not going to cover up my middle tone green completely. I'm just going to kind of bring this darker green into the middle tone and then stop and blend it out. This is going to be dark in here in this couch cushion, dark back there. dark along this edge. And this part here, we said is completely away from the light source, is going to be very, very dark. And this side is also going to be fairly dark, so I'm just going to run it over with my dark green, my shadow color. I'm going to leave a little bit of reflected light along where the wall would be, because light is bouncing back on the couch, so I'll leave that a little bit light right there. Bring in these heavy darks here. Okay, now for my final step, I'm going to look at the line color. So these are the lines. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a dark blue in this case. And depending on the color scheme you have, if you're making something brown, then you'll probably use a purple or a dark red in this case. But I'm going to go ahead and use this to reinforce my lines a little bit, make some of my shadows a little bit darker and a little bit richer. As you guys can see, I can still see some of my lines. So at this point, I'm going to take my fill color, which is that yellow, and I'm going to use it to blend some of this stuff out. Just like this. We shouldn't see any of the white paper showing through, or a little bit of the white paper is fine, but not a lot. So you're just coloring lightly over the surface here to blend this information out. And see there we've got a nice colored object, but it's still shaded, it still has values on it, and it has a full range of color.